In a world driven by power and secrecy, we unveil the truth behind global events. In a world shaped by war, politics, and hidden agendas, we cut through the noise to expose the forces driving global events. From geopolitical tensions to economic warfare, from covert operations to propaganda battles, we break down the crises that shape our future and the mechanisms of control behind them. Whether you're here to uncover the truth, challenge the narrative, or simply understand the bigger picture, the Crisis and Control Report is your go-to source for hard-hitting analysis and fearless discussion. Subscribe now and let's pull back the curtain on power, conflict and control. A new video will premiere every Sunday. Now let's dive in.
War isn't just about soldiers and battlefields. It's about power, resources, and the unseen hands that manipulate nations into endless conflict. The war between Russia and Ukraine is no exception. It's a struggle not just for territory, but for influence, control, and global supremacy. But how did we get here? Why did Russia invade Ukraine? And how do the war hawks in Washington and the military-industrial complex profit from it? Let's break it down. Ukraine and Russia share centuries of history. Ukraine was once part of the Russian Empire, and later, a key republic in the Soviet Union. For decades, Moscow viewed Ukraine as a vital part of its sphere of influence. But when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Ukraine declared independence. This was a turning point, one that Russia never fully accepted. Ukraine's strategic location, its vast resources, and its deep cultural ties to Russia made it too important for Moscow to lose. Fast forward to 2014, Ukraine was caught between two worlds: Russia, which wanted to keep it within its orbit, and the West, which saw an opportunity to pull it toward NATO and the European Union. When Ukraine's pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych was overthrown in what many consider a Western-backed coup, Russia responded. The Kremlin annexed Crimea, citing the need to protect Russian-speaking populations. But this was just the beginning. The seeds of the current war had been planted. In February 2022, Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin framed it as a special military operation to denazify Ukraine, protect ethnic Russians, and push back against NATO expansion. But was this really about Ukraine itself, or was it about something bigger? Russia has long viewed NATO's expansion as a direct threat. Since the 1990s, NATO has pushed eastward, incorporating former Soviet states like Poland, the Baltic nations, and others. When Ukraine started moving toward NATO membership, Moscow saw it as a red line. In Putin's eyes, Ukraine becoming a NATO ally would put Western military forces right on Russia's doorstep, something he was unwilling to accept. Whether you agree with his justification or not, one thing is clear: this war isn't just about Ukraine. It's about Russia's fight against what it sees as Western encroachment. But there's another side to this war, one that has nothing to do with Ukraine's sovereignty or Russia's security concerns. It's about money, power, and the war machine that never stops turning. Since the war began, the U.S. has sent over $100 billion in military aid to Ukraine. American defense contractors, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, are seeing record profits. Every missile fired, every tank destroyed, every bullet used means another contract, another deal, another surge in stock prices. And Washington? The war hawks in Congress, both Republican and Democrat, are all too eager to keep the conflict going. Why? Because war is big business. Meanwhile, everyday Americans face inflation, rising costs, and crumbling infrastructure. But instead of fixing problems at home, the U.S. government sends billions to fund an endless war overseas. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps get this information out there. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and share this video. Let's keep exposing the forces behind global conflict. Then there's NATO, the alliance that was supposed to be about defense. But in reality, NATO has become a tool for expanding US influence, drawing nations into conflicts that escalate global tensions. With Finland and Sweden now joining NATO, the alliance is expanding right up to Russia's borders. If Ukraine officially joins NATO, we're no longer talking about a regional war. We're talking about direct conflict between nuclear-armed superpowers. One mistake, one miscalculation, and the war in Ukraine could spiral into something far worse, a global war. So what's the real story here? This war isn't just about Ukraine's borders, it's about power, influence, money. It's about an empire, whether American, Russian, or NATO, fighting for dominance. And the people? They're the ones who suffer. Ukrainian civilians, Russian soldiers, taxpayers funding endless war. While politicians and defense contractors get richer, the world inches closer to the brink of catastrophe. So ask yourself, who really benefits from this war, and who really pays the price? This is the Crisis and Control Report. The war machine never sleeps, but neither do we. Subscribe now, stay informed, and question everything. And remember, new videos air every Sunday and Wednesday. See you next time.